What's up guys, my name's Tyler and welcome to another edition of the Lawn Review. String trimmer line. Your average homeowner or DIYer views this as a complete commodity. You just walk down the aisle of Home Depot and pick up the first one you see. I'm here to tell you that picking the wrong kind of string trimmer line can have a significant impact on the job that you're doing and the effectiveness of your tool. You can be replacing your string trimmer or weed eater line much more often than you really need to, or it can get gunked up in there and it's really difficult for the line to feed through the spool, or it can just be providing you with an inefficient cut. But picking the right kind of string trimmer line can have the opposite result. It can increase your tool's efficiency, but it can also impact your edging lines and improve the overall look of your yard. There's a reason why the commercial guys are cult-like with their loyalty to the type of string trimmer line that they're using, because it really does matter. So I've got a ton of different combinations of line. We're gonna run through what I think are the most important variables in looking at string trimmer line and let you know which one I think is best. So stick around and let's dive in. Guys, right off the bat, if you're not already a subscriber and you wanna learn a little bit more about lawn care and improve the overall look of your house and have fun in the process, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps YouTube know that people are interested in this type of content. It really helps us out. And again, we're giving away a different tool every single month, so head on over to our website, thelawnreview.com, and join our email list and you'll be entered into a chance to win a different tool every single month. So I've gathered together a whole bunch of different kinds of string trimmer lines. I've got varying colors, varying cuts, and varying weights. In my opinion, the three most important categories or factors when looking at weed eater line efficiencies is the visibility you get with the line, the effectiveness of the cut, and the durability of the line. So I've got several different types of lines here. We're gonna put all these head to head and see what is the most impactful and let you know what I recommend as the best combination of all three of those categories. So in terms of visibility, right off the bat, I'm not gonna tell you to remove the clippings deflector. I don't want that kind of liability. So to remove it, you just get an Allen wrench and just spin it off and remove it. For me, I have been able to see better when I remove this. I'm gonna leave it at that. So in terms of visibility and the color that you use, I would anticipate something that's a little bit more neon-y and bright is gonna give you better visibility so you can see where you're cutting. I don't know, I've seen a lot of people using black line and at times I've used it. I've never really compared it head to head to see exactly which one I can see better with, but I've got green, yellow, orange, and a little bit more of a muted orange, and then clear, and I have black. So we'll put all these head to head and see which one provides the best visibility. All right guys, so just taking a look at these different string trimmer line colors, I'm gonna give you a few different shots. The first shot is just gonna be an action shot, and then the second shot is going to be a straight cut so that we can have a baseline. But this first, right off the bat, this orange line is that muted orange line. You get pretty good visibility vertically and horizontally, so I'm gonna give this about a 6 out of 10. I thought it would pop a little bit more than it did. The next weed eater line that we're looking at is this neon yellow. I had really high hopes for this line, but as you can see, when you turn it horizontally, it just absolutely disappears. Vertically, as you can see right here, incredible visibility, but when you turn it on its side, the line just completely disappeared for whatever reason. I'm gonna rate this a 6 out of 10. And next up is this black Super Twist line. I can honestly not believe that anybody uses this string trimmer line vertically or horizontally. I couldn't see a thing. I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 10 just because there was a little bit of shine, but I really couldn't see anything. So moving on from that disaster, we can move to a really kind of interesting line. This is a clear line with kind of a black sort of filler in between. The horizontally, you couldn't see anything when it was clear, but vertically, as you can see, it kind of turns a little white. So I'm gonna give that a 4 out of 10. I was not super impressed with it. Moving on over to this neon orange line. I was really excited about this line. It looked great in the package, but as you could tell, horizontally, not great visibility. Vertically, pretty good visibility. It pops really well. I think that's why you see a lot of this on the market. But as you can see, that you do lose a little bit of visibility, but not a ton of complaints from me on this one. I'm gonna rate it a 7 out of 10. And moving on to the final color, neon green. I sure hope it comes through on video like it did in person, but this stuff absolutely popped. I've honestly never used neon green line before this, but I was really impressed with its color. It was almost kind of like an iridescent color. I didn't really even lose visibility of it over green grass. It was kind of a different hue, so I'm gonna rate this an 8 out of 10. Here's a visual of all the different weed eater lines right next to each other. Again, the yellow and orange really pop well on video, but in my experience, the green popped great in person. So after the visibility tests, the clear favorite, in my opinion, were the neons, the green, orange, and yellow, but coming out on top is the neon green. All right, guys, so now that we talked about visibility and the impact that different colors have on how well you can see what you're doing, now let's test out the durability of these different lines. I have a 6x6 board on top of a sawhorse. I'm gonna measure about 6 inches of line on both sides of the spool, and I'm gonna measure how long it takes for that piece of wood to basically eat through the line. What I'm trying to do there is just mimic hard surfaces that you might be weed eating up against or string trimming up against, and measure how long it takes for that line to get eaten up. If I had to guess what I think will be one of the most impactful things with this test, I think the diameter or thickness of the line. Like we've got 0.08 inch line, 0.095 inch line, and 0.105. I would think that the thicker the diameter, the more durable it is, but we'll find out. I don't know if like shape or anything like that will have an impact, but let's run through the test and find out. All right, guys, I've got a few half-speed shots of each different line hitting the 6x6. First up is this 0.095 inch neon orange plus shaped line. Pretty good resistance, but compared to the other ones, it was decent. So I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. Next up is this 0.08 inch green hexagon line. This is gonna be the thinnest line that I test. And as you can see, it performed accordingly. 3 out of 10. Got eaten up fast. And moving on to the 0.095 inch clear round line, as you can see, this line held up pretty well. I think it might have something to do with the fact that there's not a lot of points on the line itself to get eaten up by this board. I'm putting this 6 out of 10. It held on pretty good. Next up is this 0.095 inch yellow triangle shaped line. Man, was I impressed with this line. I don't know really what's going on with it. I had a really hard time getting it to break. As you can see, I start to push the trimmer head even closer and closer to it because I was having a hard time. And as you can see, it just kind of slaps off the board. Never ended up actually breaking. So I'm putting this 9 out of 10. I really don't have a whole lot of complaints with it. Never broke. Next up is this 0.105 inch black diamond twisted line. This is going to be the thickest line that I test out, and I hypothesized that that would mean that it was going to last the longest. As you can see, we compare it right against the yellow. I mean, it didn't do as well as it did, so I'm putting it a 7 out of 10. I would have thought that this one was going to last the longest, but it ended up giving out. Next up is this 0.095 inch black kind of indented line. It's called the Silencio line. I don't know, this stuff was awful. I even dropped it and started up again, and it didn't even matter. This stuff got eaten up fast, the quickest out of any line. So I'm putting this a 2 out of 10, just because it did resist a little bit, I guess. On to the 0.095 inch orange star-shaped line. This one I was really hopeful for, but it got eaten up fast too. 3 out of 10. Just a little bit longer than that Silencio crap. Next up is this 0.095 inch clear square-shaped line. Maybe a smidge better than the orange star shape, so I'm putting this 4 out of 10, but it didn't do super well either. And finally, on to the 0.095 inch clear braided or super twist line. This one did about as well as the star-shaped line, another 3 out of 10. Not overly impressed. All right, guys, so just taking a look at the durability test results. Like I said at the beginning, I thought the thicker the line, the more durable it was gonna be, and the thinner, the less durable, which proved out to be pretty true. But if you look at the line itself, like the 0.095 inch, for example, the star shaped that had more points on it, and I think more places for like a hard object or a sharp point for it to hit against, it actually caused the line to be more brittle because there were more chances for it to catch something and break. So that 0.095 inch round line, as you can see, performed a little bit better than the star-shaped or even the square-shaped. So it looks like there's a few different things that impact the durability of a line. Not just the diameter of the line, but also the shape of the line itself. The triangle line that performed the best, I've thought about this line a lot since I did this test. I think it's because I would compare like a triangle-shaped line to be like a steak knife, whereas like that star shaped is going to be like a needle point. And then the round shaped line is more like a butter knife. So that steak knife was just like the perfect blend of like roundness, but also thickness to where it didn't give out when it hit a hard object. All right, guys, so the third and final test that we're going to run on these different string trimmer lines is the cut efficiency test. We looked at visibility and durability, and now let's see how well they actually cut. I have wrapped a foam tube in black duct tape. What I'm trying to do is mimic like a large clump of grass or something. That's going to provide a pretty good indicator of how well these different lines cut. If I had to guess, I would think a line like a star-shaped line or that diamond twisted line with the most amount of like sharp points on it to provide the most efficient cut, but let's find out. So first up is this 0.095 inch clear round shaped line. Good, clean cut, as you can tell on here. Just wasn't great. Didn't have a killer instinct. It took a while to get through, even though it was a clean cut. So I'm putting this a 5 out of 10. Second is this 0.095 inch yellow triangle shaped line. I absolutely love this stuff. As you can see, it tore through the foam tube in no time. I'm putting this one 8 out of 10. And moving on to the thicker 0.05 inch black diamond twisted line. This was my betting favorite. I would have thought that this one would tear through this tube. Looks really cool in the package. It's twisted, it looks intense and fierce, but really this one had quite a bit of trouble, as you can see. I'm putting this one at 6 out of 10. I would have bet that this was going to be the best one, but wasn't. On to this 0.095 inch kind of muted orange star-shaped line. This was another one that cut through like butter. Similar to the star-shaped line. This one's going to be an 8 out of 10. I love this stuff. On to the 0.095 inch clear square line. This one really sucked. It was an inefficient cut. You can see it kind of slapping around on the different points on the tube. Really was not impressed with this one. 4 out of 10. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, this 0.095 inch black Silencio line is complete and total garbage. You can see again, slapping around, but even worse than the square. I hate this stuff. It's a 2 out of 10. Terrible. Could it possibly get worse than the black Silencio line, you ask? Yes, yes it can. This 0.08 inch green hexagon shaped line was terrible. I thought there was something wrong with the line itself, so I fed some new line out, tried this test again for the second time. It could barely cut this foam tube without breaking. It didn't even get through the full tube without the string breaking, as you can see on this test. Complete awful stuff. 0.08 inch line, I guess, is just not thick enough. 1 out of 10. Definitely would not recommend this stuff. Second to last line that we're testing is a 0.095 inch clear. It's called Super Twist line. Wasn't super impressed with this. It's about average, so I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. Definitely cut through the line, ripped it through pretty good, but definitely didn't have quite as clear a cut as some of the other ones. 5 out of 10. And finally, this 0.095 inch neon orange plush shaped line. I was really impressed with this. I think it's a good weight. I think it's a good shape. It cut through the tube really well. 7 out of 10. Wasn't the best, but definitely top tier. So a summary of the efficiency results, the basic hypothesis remained true that the more points on the line, it was going to give a cleaner and more efficient cut. As you can see with the triangle and star-shaped lines, they both get 8 out of 10s. The one outlier that I see on here is a round-shaped line. That actually performed better than I thought it was going to. It just didn't cut through quite as quickly as I wanted to. It was a clean cut, but I felt like it was just running into resistance, maybe on the outer shell of the tube itself. The black Silencio or indented line, you can see it did awful. It was a 2. And then the hexagon shaped green line, though it did have a lot of points on it, I think the thin or smaller diameter line just doesn't have enough substance to it to really cut through something super efficiently. In that black 0.105 diamond twisted line, I would have thought that was going to be the best one out of all of them, honestly. But I have an idea there too. I think because it was a heavier line, it wasn't able to spin quite as fast on the Ego multi-head tool that I was using. So that's kind of my idea there. So after all the results are tallied, the winner is going to be the yellow 0.095 inch triangle shaped line. And second place is going to be that neon orange 0.095 inch plus shaped line. And third place is the muted orange 0.095 inch star shaped line. It was really interesting to me that there wasn't a clear winner across all three categories. The green one in terms of visibility, that 0.09 inch triangle yellow line won in terms of durability and tied for first place in efficiency, but you didn't have a perfect line across all three categories. If I could create a perfect string trimmer line, I'd take that green color at 0.095 inches and triangle shaped. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and create the perfect string trimmer line. So subscribe to the Lawn Review if you want to follow along in this process and are interested in maybe getting that line from us someday. Don't know how long that'll take, but we're gonna try and do it. 0.095 inch green, neon green, triangle shaped line. That's the goal. So subscribe, make sure you follow along in the process. Guys, thanks so much for checking out this week's video. Again, if you're not already a subscriber and you want to learn a little bit more about lawn care, plant care, and the right tools for the job, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, really would help us out. But until next time, keep cutting. We'll see y'all again.